Hey guys, tonight we're going to travel back to a time without electricity, without smartphones, without the constant blue light from screens that we all blame for our sleepless nights. We're heading to the Middle Ages, a time you'd think was so full of hard physical labor that sleep would come easily, instantly, the moment your head hit the straw-stuffed sack that passed for a pillow. You'd be surprised. You might not survive the first day of medieval farm work, let alone the first sleepless night. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see our little community of night owls spread across the globe, all seeking a bit of quiet. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The last sliver of the moon has disappeared behind the thick, rolling clouds, and the world outside your small wattle house is now utterly, completely black. It's a kind of darkness that the modern mind struggles to comprehend. Not the soft, grey-blue darkness of a city at 3 a.m., punctuated by the glow of streetlights and distant headlights, but a deep, inky, velvety blackness that swallows all light and shape. It presses against the wooden shutters of your single window, seeping through the cracks. You are lying on your back, staring up into that impenetrable void. The only sounds are the small, intimate ones of a sleeping household. The soft rustle of straw from the mattress beneath you as you shift your weight for the 100th time. The slow, rhythmic breathing of your spouse beside you, and the faint, whistling snore of your eldest child curled up at the foot of the bed. Yes, the whole family is here, in this one bed, a common reality in your time. Privacy is a luxury for kings, not for you. This shared warmth should be comforting, but tonight it only makes you feel more isolated in your wakefulness. Every peaceful breath they take is a quiet reminder of the sleep that eludes you. You woke up an hour or so ago. This in itself isn't unusual. Most people in your world practice what future historians will call segmented sleep or first sleep. You work from sunrise to sunset, eat a simple meal, and fall into a deep exhaustion for a few hours. Then, around midnight, it's common to wake up for an hour or two. This liminal time, known as the watch, is often a quiet, productive period. Your neighbors might be tending to a low fire, saying their prayers, having a quiet conversation, or even engaging in some marital intimacy. It's a natural pause in the night, but for you, the pause has stretched into a torment. Your mind, instead of being peaceful, has decided to race. It's not worrying about emails you forgot to send or a looming work deadline. Your anxieties are far more elemental, far more medieval. Did you store enough firewood for the coming cold snap? The slight cough the cow had yesterday, is it the beginning of a fatal illness? The price of grain at the market last week seemed higher than usual. Will your harvest be enough to feed the family and pay the tithe to the church and the tax to the local lord? Your thoughts spiral, each one a heavy stone sinking you deeper into a pool of quiet panic. You try to pray. You murmur the familiar words of the Pater Noster, the Our Father, hoping the holy rhythm will soothe your frantic mind, but the words feel hollow, empty. It feels as though they dissolve into the oppressive darkness before they can reach. God's ear. Historians in the future will endlessly debate the true nature of medieval anxiety. Was it primarily driven by a deep, spiritual fear of sin, demons, and divine judgment, a terror of what lurked in the darkness, both literal and metaphorical? Or was it, as you feel so acutely now, a more practical, worldly dread rooted in the fragility of life itself, fear of hunger, sickness, and poverty? Right now, lying in the dark, it feels like both are wrestling for control of your soul. The fear of an empty grain silo feels just as terrifying as the fear of eternal damnation. You roll onto your side, the straw crackling softly beneath you. The coarse wool of your blanket scratches against your cheek. You can smell the lingering scent of wood smoke from the hearth, mingled with the earthy smell of the dirt floor and the faint, not unpleasant animal scent of your family. You try to focus on these sensations to ground yourself in the physical world. You count sheep, an age-old trick, but in your mind the sheep start coughing, or they get lost, or the wolf that's been rumored to be in the nearby woods starts stalking them. It's no use. Outside, an owl hoots, a low, mournful sound that seems to measure the slow passing of the night. Later, much later, you hear the distant crow of a rooster from a neighboring farm, the first premature announcement of a dawn that is still hours away. For a sleeping person, it's a sound that goes unheard. For you, it's a mark of failure. Another hour has passed, and you are still awake. Your body aches with a phantom exhaustion, the fatigue of a day's labor you haven't even begun yet. Your eyes burn, your limbs feel heavy, yet your mind is a buzzing hive of activity. You know that when the sun finally does rise, casting its first grey, watery light into the room, there will be no sympathy. There is no calling in sick because you're tired. The cow still needs to be milked. The fields still need to be tended. The water still needs to be fetched. Life does not wait for you to feel rested. As this realization settles in, a new kind of despair begins to creep at the edges of your consciousness. There must be a way, a cure, a charm, something to silence the noise in your head and grant you the simple, blessed peace of oblivion. You can't go on like this. Tomorrow you decide. Tomorrow you will seek help. Your quest for sleep is about to begin. The new day dawns, not with a gentle, rosy glow, but with a cold, damp, grey light that seeps into the room, revealing the motes of dust dancing in the air. Every limb aches as you force yourself out of the shared bed, careful not to disturb the others. Your movements are slow, deliberate, as if you're wading through thick treacle. The exhaustion is a physical weight on your shoulders. You splash your face with icy water from a wooden basin, the shock doing little to clear the fog in your head. As you go about the morning chauserie, kindling the fire, fetching water from the village well, sharing a piece of hard, dark bread with your family, your mind is fixed on a single purpose. You need a remedy. Later in the day, while mending a fence at the edge of your small plot of land, you mention your sleepless night to your elderly neighbor, Ilara. She's a woman whose face is a roadmap of sun and seasons, her hands gnarled, but surprisingly deft. She listens patiently, nodding as you describe the racing thoughts, the heavy-limbed fatigue. She doesn't offer sympathy. That's not her way. Instead, she offers practicality. It is the heat in your head, she says, her voice raspy like dry leaves. Your humors are unbalanced. Too much yellow bile, perhaps. It makes the mind agitated. This talk of humours is common knowledge, a simplified version of the learned medicine practiced by physicians. Everyone knows that the body is governed by IV fluids, flood, phlegm, yellow, bile, and black biland, that sickness, whether of the body or mind, is a result of their imbalance. She wipes her hands on her apron and points a crooked finger towards her own garden. You need something cool, something moist. You need lettuce. You look at her, a little puzzled. Lettuce? You know it as a humble garden vegetable, something you might add to a pottage if you have it. You've never considered it as medicine. Ilara seems to read your thoughts. Not just any lettuce, she clarifies, walking slowly towards her meat. Rows of greens, the wild kind is best, but this garden variety will do. The milk of the lettuce, it has a power, it quiets the mind. My grandmother swore by it. This is a piece of folk wisdom passed down through generations. Unbeknownst to you or Ilara, you are tapping into a very ancient belief. Thousands of years before your time, the ancient Egyptians associated lettuce with Min, their god of fertility, but they also recognized its soporific, sleep-inducing qualities. The Romans, too, prized lettuce as a way to end a meal and encourage a peaceful rest. The milk Ilara speaks of is the white, slightly bitter latex that seeps from the stem when cut, known scientifically as lacticarium. In the 19th century, this substance would be studied and sometimes called lettuce opium for its mild sedative effects. But here, in your medieval world, it is simply grandmother's wisdom, a gift from the earth. Ilara shows you how to prepare. You don't just eat the leaves raw in a salad. That's not considered particularly good for digestion. Instead, she instructs you to boil a large handful of the leaves in water until they are soft and wilted. The resulting green, slightly bitter liquid is the lettuce water. She also tells you to crush some of the fresh leaves and mix them with a little vinegar to make a poultice. Drink the water before bed, she instructs, and bind the poultice to your temples. It will draw the heat out. That evening, you follow her instructions to the letter. The lettuce water is not pleasant. It tastes of boiled greens and earth, with a bitter aftertaste. As you drink it, you can't help but feel a little foolish. Can something so simple, so mundane, truly calm the storm in your mind? You lie down. In the darkness, the damp, cool poultice of crushed leaves tied to your forehead with a strip of linen. The smell is fresh and green, a stark contrast to the usual smoky, human smells of the room. You lie still, waiting for the magic to work. You focus on the coolness spreading across your temples, trying to will the heat to leave your brain. For a moment, you think it might be working. Your thoughts seem to slow down, the frantic energy dissipating just a little. Or perhaps it's just the power of suggestion, the deep-seated hope that this time this will be the thing that works. You drift in a state between wakefulness and sleep, a hazy, grey area where thoughts are no longer sharp but are replaced by fleeting images and disjointed scraps of conversation. But true, deep sleep remains just out of reach. An itch develops on your arm. You shift to scratch it. A floorboard in the room above creaks. Suddenly, you are wide awake again, your heart thumping. The brief moment of peace has shattered, and the familiar anxieties come rushing back into Fill the void. The lettuce water has failed you. The poultice on your head now feels like a damp, silly inconvenience. Frustration bubbles up inside you, hot and sharp, completely overwhelming any coolness the lettuce was supposed to provide. The folk remedy, a cornerstone of daily life for so many, has proven useless against the stubborn persistence of your own mind. Tomorrow you'll have to escalate. Tomorrow you will need to seek out someone with more knowledge, more authority, someone who can offer more than just boiled leaves and old wives' tales. The next day you leave the familiar confines of your village and walk the few miles to the nearest market town. It's a bustling, noisy place, a sensory overload compared to the quiet rhythm of your farm. The air is thick with the smells of livestock, baking bread, and unwashed humanity. You navigate the crowded, muddy streets, past merchants shouting their wares and beggars displaying their afflictions. Your goal, a small, unassuming building near the church. This is the home and practice of the local physician. He isn't a university doctor from Padua or Salerno. Those are for the fabulously wealthy, but a respected practitioner who learned his trade through apprenticeship. He is a man of books and theories, a step above the folk remedies of your neighbor Ilara. You wait your turn in a small, dim anteroom, clutching the few coins you've brought for payment. When you are finally called in, you find yourself in a room that smells of dried herbs and old parchment. The physician, a man with a serious face and ink-stained fingers, listens to your story with an air of detached concentration. You tell him about the sleepless nights, the racing thoughts, the failure of the lettuce water. He nods gravely, his expression unchanging. He doesn't ask about your worries or your fears. He is interested in the physical mechanics of your ailment. It is, as you suspected, a matter of humoral imbalance. He declares, his voice calm and authoritative. Your sleeplessness, your agitated mind, as you call it, points to an excess of choler or yellow bile. This humor is hot and dry by nature. It is produced in the liver, and when in excess, it rises to the brain, heating it and causing restlessness, anger, and insomnia. This is the core of Galenic medicine, a system developed in ancient Rome by the physician Galen, and it has dominated Western medical thought for over 1,000 years. To you, it sounds incredibly scientific, a clear and logical explanation for the chaos in your head. It's not just a vague heat, as Ilara described. It's a specific substance, yellow bile with known properties. The physician explains that the treatment must therefore be to cool and moisten your system to counteract the hot, dry bile. Your neighbor's lettuce was the correct idea, he concedes, but insufficient for a case as advanced as yours. We must employ a more robust regimen. He begins to outline a course of action. First, your diet must change. You are to avoid all hot foods, no garlic, no onions, no spicy peppers, and certainly no red meat or wine, as these are all thought to generate more choler. Instead, your diet should consist of cool foods, cucumbers, melons, fish, and, of course, more lettuce, but this time consumed in greater quantities. Next, he recommends a phlebotomy, or bloodletting. This is a standard procedure for almost any ailment. The theory is that by removing blood, you are also removing the excess hot humors that are carried within it. Historians will later look back on this practice with horror, recognizing it as something that often weakened already sick patients. But in your world, it is a perfectly logical and widely accepted treatment. The physician tells you that a small letting of blood from a vein in your arm will help to calm the liver and reduce the production of yellow bile. Finally, he prepares a medicine for you. He moves to a corner of the room filled with wooden chests and clay jars. He measures out several dried, grey-looking herbs, grinding them with a mortar and pestle. You can't identify all of them, but you recognize the distinct, sweet smell of poppy. He mixes the ground herbs with honey to form a thick, dark paste. This is a simple soporific, he explains, spooning it into a small pot for you to take. Home, it contains poppy, mandrake, root, and henbane. Take a small amount, no bigger than a pea, before you attempt to sleep. Be warned, he adds, his gaze serious. It is potent. Use it only when necessary. You leave the physician's office with a lighter purse, but a heavier heart. The little pot of dark paste feeling weighty in your hand. The ingredients he mentioned, poppy, mandrake, henbane, are all known to be powerful and frankly dangerous. Mandrake root, in particular, is steeped in folklore. It's said to scream when pulled from the ground, killing anyone who hears it. While the physician scoffs at such tales, everyone knows these plants walk a fine line between medicine and poison. The idea of ingesting them is unsettling. The academic debate among future pharmacologists will center on whether these medieval soporifics were genuinely effective sedatives or simply powerful narcotics that induced a stupor rather than a restful sleep. Did they heal the imbalance or just mask the symptoms with a dangerous chemical fog? That night, you hesitate. You look at the dark, sticky substance in the pot. The thought of bloodletting is terrifying, but this feels more insidious. A deliberate invitation to a potentially permanent sleep. You decide to postpone the herbs. You will try the diet first. You eat a simple, cool meal of boiled fish and cucumbers. You avoid the family's stew, rich with onions and a precious bit of bacon. It feels like a punishment. You lie down in the dark, your stomach feeling empty and unsatisfied. And you wait. The night unfolds just as it did before. The brief period of initial sleep, then the jarring return to full consciousness. Only this time, a new anxiety joins the chorus. The fear of the remedies themselves. You picture the physician's sharp lancet, ready to open a vein. You imagine the potent herbs spreading through your body, dragging you down into a darkness from which you might not return. The professional, scientific solution has only given you more to worry about. The promised peace feels further away than ever. Weeks turn into a month, and the sleeplessness becomes your new, unwelcome normality. The physician's diet has left you feeling weak and perpetually hungry, and you still haven't gathered the courage to use the dark, potent paste or to subject yourself to bloodletting. The fear of the cure has become as paralyzing as the ailment itself. In a moment of quiet desperation, after another night spent staring into the void, a new idea takes root. Planted by a passing friar, you gave a piece of bread to. He spoke of the peace within monastery walls, of a life ordered not by the chaotic whims of the body, but by the divine timetable of God. He spoke of the monk's deep knowledge of herbs, a wisdom that was gentle and blessed, unlike the harsh potency of the physician's medicine. And so, you find yourself on a dusty road, walking towards the local Benedictine priory. It sits on a hill overlooking the river, a collection of sturdy stone buildings that seem to exude a sense of permanence. And .com. It's not a common thing to do, to approach a monastery for a personal ailment, but you are past caring about convention. As you draw closer, you hear it, the sound of a bell, clear and resonant, calling the monks to prayer. It's the middle of the afternoon, the office of none. This is the rhythm of their lives, a day punctuated by 8 services. From matins in the deep of night to Compline after sunset, you are met at the gate by the almoner, the monk in charge of dispensing charity to the poor and travelers. You explain your situation, your voice low and humbled. You speak of your sleeplessness not as a humoral imbalance, but as a spiritual affliction, a trial. The monk, a man with a kind, weathered face, listens without judgment. He leads you not to a physician's office, but to a garden. The monastery's herb garden is a world away from Ilara's simple vegetable patch. It is a place of meticulous order and quiet purpose. Herbs are planted in neat, raised beds, each with a small wooden marker. The air smells wonderfully complex of lavender, chamomile, mint, and dozens of other scents you can't name. This is the domain of the infirmary, the monk responsible for the care of the sick. Brother Thomas, the current infirmary, is a quiet man who moves with a gentle efficiency. He examines you not by talking about bile and phlegm, but by looking at your eyes, the pallor of your skin, and asking about the nature of your thoughts at night. He nods, understanding the body and soul are intertwined. He says, his voice soft, an unquiet mind will surely lead to an unquiet body. The devil finds work for idle thoughts in the darkness. His diagnosis is both medical and spiritual. His prescription is also twofold. First, he gives you a small cloth sachet filled with dried herbs. This is a sleep pillow, he explains. It is filled with hops, lavender, and chamomile. Place it beside your head as you sleep. The scent is calming to the spirit. This is a form of aromatherapy, a gentle, non-invasive treatment. Hops, which you know primarily as an ingredient in beer, have been used for centuries for their sedative properties. Future studies will confirm that compounds in hops do indeed have a mild calming effect on the central nervous system. It's a wonderfully strange thought that the same plant that gives bitterness to ale might also bring peace to a restless mind. Second, he offers spiritual counsel. When you wake in the night, he advises, do not fight the wakefulness. Do not let your mind spiral into worldly anxieties. Instead, rise. Say a quiet prayer. Meditate on a passage from the Psalms. Turn this empty time into a time for God. Consecrate your sleeplessness. This is a radical idea. Instead of viewing your insomnia as a failure or a sickness to be cured, he is suggesting you reframe it as an opportunity for spiritual devotion. It's a concept that future cognitive behavioral therapists might recognize as a form of paradoxical intention. You leave the priory feeling a flicker of something you haven't felt in a long time. Hope. The sachet of herbs smells divine. A clean, floral scent that seems to promise peace. That night, you place the small pillow beside your head. The gentle aroma of lavender and chamomile fills the small space around you. It's a much more pleasant sensation than the damp lettuce poultice. When you inevitably wake in the deep of the night, You try to follow Brother Thomas's advice. You don't lie there, stewing in your worries. You slip quietly out of bed, careful not to wake your family. You don't have a book of Psalms, of course. Books are for monks and lords, but you know the prayers by heart. You kneel on the cold, hard-packed earth of your floor and begin to whisper the prayers you have known since childhood. You focus on the words, their rhythm, their meaning. You are not praying for sleep anymore. You are simply praying. It's a subtle shift, but it feels profound. You are not fighting the darkness. You are filling it with purpose. Does it work? The answer is complex, and one that historians of medicine and religion still debate. Is the perceived effect of such remedies a result of the pharmacological properties of the herbs, or the powerful psychological impact of ritual, faith, and the placebo effect? Lying back down in your bed, the scent of lavender in the air, you feel a sense of calm that the physician's dire warnings and complicated theories could never provide. You don't fall into a deep, dreamless slumber immediately, but the frantic, buzzing energy in your head has subsided. The sharp edges of your anxiety have been softened. For the first time in a long time, the encroaching dawn doesn't feel like a mark of failure, but simply the natural end of a night that was, if not restful, at least peaceful. The peace you found through the monastery's gentle methods is a fragile thing. It helps, but it doesn't cure. There are still nights when the prayers feel empty and the scent of lavender fails to soothe the buzzing in your skull. The deep-seated exhaustion remains a constant companion. Your quest, you realize, is not over. It has simply entered a new, stranger territory. You start to listen more closely to the whispers and hushed conversations at the market, to the tales told by traveling peddlers and old women who sit by the fire. You begin to hear about remedies that don't come from a physician's book or a monk's garden. These are the remedies of the earth, of superstition, of a folk magic that runs deeper and older than the church bells. One day, a woman at the village, seeing the dark circles under your eyes, pulls you aside. She speaks in a low, conspiratorial tone. The learned men have failed you, she says, not as a question, but as a statement. Their theories are just words. You need something with true power. She tells you about the importance of a protective amulet, not a holy relic blessed by a priest, but something more personal, more primal. She advises you to find a stone from a running stream. It must be from moving water, to wash away the stagnant humazand. It must have a natural hole in it. This hagstone or adderstone is a potent charm against nightmares and evil spirits that might disturb one's rest. You spend an afternoon searching along the banks of the local stream, feeling both foolish and strangely hopeful. You sift through countless smooth, grey pebbles until finally you find one. It's small, dark, and has a perfect, tiny hole worn through its center by the patient action of water over centuries. That night, you tie it with a leather thong and wear it around your neck. It rests cool against your skin. The weight of it is a small, constant reminder of its supposed power. As you lie in the dark, you finger the smooth stone, focusing on its solid reality. It's a focal point, something to anchor your racing thoughts. It's a practice not so different from modern-day mindfulness, grounding yourself in a physical sensation to escape the prison of your own mind. But the world of folk magic offers more than just protective stones. An old man who travels from village to village, sharpening knives and scissors, tells you of another ritual. He says your sleeplessness might be caused by an elf shot, a sudden pain or ailment, believed to be caused by the invisible arrows of elves or fairies. While you don't have a sudden pain, the idea that your affliction comes from an unseen, malevolent force is compelling. The cure, he says, is a ritual of transference. You must take a handful of salt, walk to a crossroads at midnight a place that is neither one thing nor another, a liminal space, and throw the salt over your left shoulder into the darkness, naming your ailment as you do so. I cast out this wakefulness, you are to say. The salt, a purifying element, is meant to absorb the affliction and cast it away into the spirit world. This is a step further than wearing a stone. It requires action, secrecy, and a journey into the terrifying darkness of a medieval night. The crossroads, far from the reassuring glow of any hearth, is a place of deep-seated fear. It's where suicides were often buried, a place outside of consecrated ground. To go there willingly at midnight feels like a profound transgression. The line between what historians call folk medicine and what the church would call sorcery is dangerously thin. Many of these practices, while common, were officially condemned. The debate continues to this day. Were these rituals merely psychological theater, powerful placebos that worked by convincing the sufferer of their efficacy? Or did they tap into a pre-Christian belief system that saw the world as enchanted and filled with active, unseen forces? Driven by desperation, you decide to try it. You wait for a moonless night. You slip out of the house, a small pouch of precious salt in your hand. Every snapping twig sounds like a pursuing demon. Every hoot of an owl seems like a dire warning. The crossroads is a patch of bare, trampled earth where two muddy tracks intersect. The darkness here feels different, heavier. Your heart pounds in your chest as you whisper the words and cast the salt. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, a gust of wind rustles the leaves in the nearby trees, and you almost scream, convinced you've disturbed something. You turn and run, not stopping until you are safely back inside your own four walls, your heart hammering against your ribs. Did you sleep that night? Perhaps a little, or perhaps the sheer physical and emotional exhaustion of the ritual was sedative. Enough. You lie in bed, the hag stone cool on your chest, the memory of the crossroads vivid in your mind. You have now tried it all. The simple folk wisdom of the garden, the complex theories of the physician, the gentle faith of the monastery, and the fearful magic of the crossroads. You have journeyed to the very edges of your culture's understanding of sickness and healing, and yet the core of the problem, the stubborn wakefulness, remains. You are beginning to suspect that there is no magic bullet, no single cure. The answer, if it exists at all, must lie somewhere else entirely. The seasons have turned. The failed remedies and strange rituals have left you not rested, but weary in a different way, weary of the searching itself. The pot of the physician's dark paste sits untouched in a corner, gathering dust. The hag, stone still hangs around your neck, but more out of habit than belief. The sleep pillow from the monastery has lost most of its scent. You have exhausted all the external solutions your world has to offer, and you are still tired. But something inside you has shifted. the frantic desperation has cooled into a kind of resigned acceptance. The sleeplessness is still there, a shadow at your side, but it no longer holds the same terror. One night, you wake up as usual. The familiar silence of the house envelops you, but instead of letting the anxieties rush in, or starting a desperate prayer, or focusing on an amulet, you do something new. You do nothing, you simply lie there in the darkness and you listen. You listen to the slow, deep rhythm of your husband's breathing. You listen to the tiny, whistling snore of your child. You listen to the faint rustle of the straw in the mattress. You extend your hearing beyond the walls of your house. You hear the distant bleating of a sheep, the sigh of the wind in the thatched roof, the creak of a cooling timber. You are not fighting the wakefulness anymore. You are not trying to cure it, or banish it, or sanctify it. You are simply inhabiting it. You are observing the night, becoming a part of its quiet, unfolding tapestry. It's a profound shift in perspective. Your sleeplessness is no longer a personal failure or a malevolent curse. It is just a state of being, like the darkness itself. It is a time that exists, and in this acceptance, a strange thing happens. The tension in your body begins to unclench. The buzzing in your head softens to a low hum. The fear, the great animating force behind your entire quest, finally recedes. You start to use this time, following the monk's advice, but stripping it of its desperate piety. You rise quietly. You don't pray for salvation, but you mend a tear in your child's tunic by the faint light of the dying embers in the hearth. The simple, repetitive motion of the needle is calming. You think about the day to come, not with dread, but with a quiet pragmatism. You plan the tasks ahead, breaking them down into manageable pieces. This liminal state, the watch, ceases to be a torment and becomes a useful, quiet interlude. Unbeknownst to you, you have stumbled upon a truth that will take your civilization centuries to articulate in medical terms. You have, in your own way, discovered the principles of acceptance and commitment therapy. You have stopped struggling with the unwanted internal experience, the sleeplessness, and have instead committed to living a valuable life alongside it. You are no longer trying to win a war against your own mind. You have simply declared a truce. Some nights you even find yourself drifting back to sleep before the first rooster crows. The sleep is not the heavy, instant oblivion you once craved, but a lighter, more natural rest. It comes and goes, and you learn that that's okay. The endless, desperate search for a magical cure was, in itself, a source of profound anxiety. The historical debate over whether medieval people suffered more or less from conditions like insomnia is complex. Did their hard physical lives protect them, or did their anxieties about salvation, famine, and disease prey on their minds in the dark? Perhaps the answer is that they were just like us, wrestling with the same stubborn brains, but with a completely different toolkit of solutions. Your journey shows that sometimes the most effective tool is simply letting go. As the first pale light of dawn filters into the room, you are already awake. But this time, you are not exhausted. You are not defeated. You are simply ready. You rise from the bed, the familiar aches in your bones feeling less like a burden and more like a testament to a life being lived. You have walked through the worlds of medicine, faith, and magic, and have arrived at a quiet place of your own making. You have found peace, not in a potion or a prayer, but in the simple, profound act of accepting the night for what it is. And now the story is over. Your own journey through this medieval night can come to a close. The worries of that time, the fear of the dark, the search for a cure, they can all fade away now. Let them dissolve like salt in the midnight air. The only thing that remains is the quiet, the gentle hum of the fan, the soft weight of your blanket. Your own breathing is now slow and rhythmic, in and out. There's nothing left to do, nowhere left to go. You can let go of the thread of the story, let it drift away on a soft breeze. Your mind, once a busy crossroads, is now a quiet, empty field under a sky full of gentle, sleeping stars. Every breath you take draws you a little deeper, a little further down, into a soft, comfortable, and well-deserved rest. The night is peaceful now, and so are you.